Your teen didn't stop talking to humans, they just stopped talking to you. Everyone else gets full sentences. You get grunts, shrugs, and a facial expression that looks like their emotions are stuck on buffering. It feels personal, even hostile, but it's not. Teens emotionally ghost their parents for reasons almost no adult was ever taught. And once you understand the pattern, their behavior suddenly makes sense in a way that hits you right in the parental ego. Here are the 8 real reasons teens detach, and the one mistake that pushes them even further. Number 1, the biological betrayal nobody warned you about. Your teen's brain is literally rewiring itself to find you annoying. Not metaphorically, biologically. This isn't personal. It's evolutionary sabotage designed to make them leave the nest before they're 35 and still drinking your almond milk. During adolescence, the prefrontal cortex, the logical, patient, sensible part, goes temporarily dim, while the amygdala runs the show. Stanford neuroscience shows that when adolescence hits, the brain quietly flips a switch. Parent interaction equals less dopamine. Peer interaction equals dopamine buffet. Their brain is chemically ghosting you. You whisper, "I'm proud of you." Their brain, mid. Friend sends a blurry meme. Their brain, euphoria. The same child who once thought you were their entire universe now thinks you breathe suspiciously loud. Your laugh should be registered under the Geneva Conventions, and the way you open a bag of crisps, unforgivable. This isn't rebellion. This is biology breaking up with you temporarily. But here's what most parents don't see coming. When biology pulls away, teens go hunting for connection somewhere else. And that leads straight into the first big relationship misfire. Number 2, the friendship attempt that backfired. At some point, you decided, you know what? I'm gonna be the cool parent, the fun parent, the parent who says, bestie, unironically, and your teen responded by emotionally filing you under people I can't take seriously. When you drop too much authority in the name of connection, kids don't get closer. They lose the structure that makes connection feel safe. Columbia Relationship Research calls this boundary confusion. Teens call it, why is my mom acting like she's auditioning for my friend group? Watch the progression. It's almost universal. Age 10, my mom is my best friend. Age 12, okay, she's trying a little too hard. Age 14, please stop talking to me in public. Age 16, I need air and space and a witness protection program. They didn't stop loving you. They stopped being able to respect you in the role you're meant to hold. Kids don't bond deeply with friends. They bond deeply with parents who act like parents. Peers are for validation. Parents are for grounding. When you become a peer, they lose the grounding. And that's when detachment hits. But it usually doesn't stop there, because teens don't detach only because you acted like a friend. They detach harder when their trust bank with you is running low. Number 3, the trust bank you didn't know you were emptying. Every parent has a trust bank with their teen. The problem? Most parents don't realize the balance exists until the account hits negative infinity. Every "because I said so," every half promise, every tiny breach of privacy leads to withdrawal. We'll see. You meant no. Maybe later. You meant never. I won't tell anyone. You told everyone. Checking their phone again for safety. MIT research shows teens keep receipts. Not emotionally, but neurologically. Their brain literally tallies parental reliability like an accountant with trauma. So when they pull away, they're not being dramatic. They're responding to the maths. Those small betrayals you forgot, they didn't. Sharing their embarrassing story at dinner, calling their feelings hormones, telling your spouse something they thought was private, minimizing their stress because you're 15. What stress? Comparing them to children who live in Instagram highlight reels. Each one was a withdrawal, and eventually, the trust bank went into overdraft protection. They're basically changing their PIN and pretending the card machine is broken. Teens protect themselves the only way their brain knows how. Distance, no expectations, no disappointment, no vulnerability. If they don't lean on you, you can't drop them. If they don't open up, you can't overshare their secrets. If they don't depend, they can't be let down. This isn't drama. It's self-preservation in a hoodie. And sometimes they're not just protecting themselves from you. They're trying to protect who they're becoming from being a copy-paste of you, which drops us directly into one of the biggest emotional plot twists of adolescence. Quick sticko pause. If you're realizing half this applies to your teen and the other half applies to you, hit like. So the algorithm knows we're all parenting on expert mode with no tutorial. Number 4, the identity crisis that requires your absence. Your teen isn't pushing you away. They're pulling themselves forward. To figure out who they are, they have to figure out who they're not. And who they're currently very, very not is you. Harvard identity research shows teens must differentiate from parents to build an independent self. Translation, they can't discover me while standing in the shadow of you. Trying to build an identity while tightly fused with a parent is like trying to see your reflection in a mirror someone else is shaking. The image isn't wrong, it's just not yours. So the girl who once begged to go shopping with you, now she reacts like you suggested matching colonoscopies. Teen rule, anything you enjoy instantly becomes cringe by association. The son who was your sports buddy suddenly thinks everything you enjoy is boring, mid, or for old people. At 15, everyone older than 16 is old people. Watch the pattern unfold. Shows you watch? Cringe. Clothing you buy? Absolutely not. Food you cook? Inedible. Your opinions? Invalid, because you were born in the 1900s. This isn't disrespect, it's construction. They're sculpting a self. And chisels only work by pushing material away. But here's the twist most parents never see coming. Sometimes the more connected you try to be, the more suffocating it feels for them. Which leads straight into the next reason teens detach. One, almost no parent realizes they're creating. And we're only halfway there. The one that breaks most parent-teen relationships wide open is still coming. Number 5, the emotional suffocation they can't articulate. Your love doesn't feel like love to them right now. To a teenager learning to exist independently, your affection lands like a weighted blanket in a sauna. Every check-in feels like surveillance. Every question feels like cross-examination. Every "I miss you" sounds like a guilt trip invoice. In their internal translation system, "How was your day? Why aren't you telling me everything? Who were you with? Submit your alibi. I love you. Now manage my emotions too." Berkeley attachment research shows that when kids feel emotionally overheld, they detach harder. Not because they don't love you, but because they're trying to feel where they end and you begin. You send memes, you comment on their stories. You're not a parent anymore. You're a one-person emotional Wi-Fi network, and their phone is desperately trying to disconnect. They can't breathe. They can't think. They can't feel their own feelings without checking how yours will react. So they build distance. Physical, emotional, digital. Not to shut you out, but to finally hear themselves think without your emotional baseline humming underneath. Your love isn't the problem. The intensity is. Right now, they need emotional microdoses, and you're giving them the full intravenous drip. But suffocation is only one piece of the puzzle. Teens don't just distance to breathe. Sometimes they distance because they're exhausted from playing a role they never chose, which leads directly to the next reason they detach, and the one that blindsides even great parents. Quick sticko golden nugget. If you've done any of this, you didn't fail. You loved, loudly, not wrongly. Number 6, the performance they can't maintain. Some teens detach because they're overwhelmed. Others detach because they're exhausted from performing. They spent years being the good kid, the easy kid, the responsible one, the peacemaker, the golden child, the no trouble teen. And now their soul is quietly handing in its notice like, yeah, I'm done. Yale performance research shows that when kids feel locked into a family role, their brain eventually hits identity foreclosure, a psychological emergency exit that forces them to separate fast and hard so they can figure out who they are without the script you unknowingly handed them. It's why the straight A kid suddenly stops trying, or the quiet, easy child turns into a walking argument overnight. It's not rebellion, it's rebooting. And here's the part parents rarely hear for what it is. Every time you say, "My child would never," or "That doesn't sound like you," their brain hears, "I love the version of you that performs, not the one underneath." So they go underground, emotionally, socially, conversationally, not to punish you, but to escape a character they didn't choose. But if you think that creates distance, wait until they start recognizing parts of you inside themselves. Because nothing pushes a teenager farther or faster than seeing your flaws reflected back at them. Number 7, the mirror they can't stand. Nothing freaks a teenager out more than seeing you inside them. Your anxiety and their overthinking, your temper and their reactions, your people-pleasing in their friendships, your insecurity wearing their face. Psychology calls it mirror theory. Adolescents reject the traits in parents that they fear become permanent in themselves. So, when they pull away, it's not because they hate you. It's because they're terrified of becoming you. They hear your phrases coming out of their mouth. They lose their patience exactly the way you do. They avoid conflict the way you avoid conflict. And suddenly they're thinking, wait, is this hereditary? Distance becomes an emotional detox, a desperate attempt to rewrite DNA through sheer willpower. It's basically personality bleach, harsh, overused, and somehow part of the process. If they stay too close, they feel like they're inhaling all the parts of you they swore they wouldn't repeat. And here's the painful irony. The more they run from your traits, the more those traits show up. Your kid isn't rejecting you. They're rejecting the version of themselves they're afraid they'll become. But if that's uncomfortable for them, the next reason hits even harder. Because sometimes teens don't pull away to avoid becoming you. They pull away because they're becoming someone they're afraid you won't accept. Which leads us right into number 8, the shame they're protecting you from. Teenagers don't just hide because they're moody. Sometimes they hide because they're ashamed on your behalf. They're doing things you wouldn't approve of, thinking thoughts that would worry you. Northwestern research shows teens create distance proportional to how much disappointment they expect from their parents. Not the disappointment you've expressed, the disappointment they've pre-imagined. So the withdrawal isn't random. It's self-defense. They've discovered parts of themselves that don't fit the version of them they think lives in your head. A sexuality you didn't expect. Beliefs you don't share. Interests you won't understand. Friendships you'd question. Mistakes they know you'd lose sleep over. Rather than break your heart, they quietly remove themselves. Rather than argue about who they're becoming, they become it somewhere you can't see. And here's the part parents rarely realize. The silence isn't rejection, it's protection. They're not thinking, I hate you. They're thinking, if you knew the real me, you'd be disappointed. So I'll keep you safe from that. That's the tragedy of teen shame. They push you away to protect you, not to punish you. But shame-triggered distance doesn't have to last forever, unless parents make the one mistake that turns temporary detachment into permanent disconnection. And that's where we go next. The path back that requires your patience. Teen detachment isn't rejection. It's development. They're not pulling away from you. They're pulling towards themselves. Your job now, be steady. Not clingy, not panicked, not chase mode. Connection comes back. when pressure comes off. What works? Available, not invasive. Warm, not wounded. Present, not prying. Here's the part no one tells parents. They return faster when you stop chasing. Detachment isn't a door closing. It's a hallway. Stay where they can find you when they turn back. Fight the distance, and they make it permanent. Respect it, and they come back when they're ready. Older, safer, and finally able to meet you as their own person. Your teen is doing what every human has to do. Step away. Let them go while keeping their room exactly how they left it, just in case they decide to come home to you, not just live with you.